Canadians are preparing for the upcoming elections on Monday, September 20th. Our correspondent Pablo Vivanco brings us more details in the following report.
As Canadians reluctantly go to the polls in the country's federal elections on September 20th, the country's role in the world has been notably absent from the debate. But progressive candidates like Matías Edovitis from the New Democratic Party are speaking to voters about how Canada's foreign policy under the Liberal Party isn't what it seems.
The foreign policy of the Liberal Party and Trudeau Jr. is now different from Trump's foreign policy in Latin America.
For the Uruguayan-born Canadian, the Trudeau government has continued the rightward drift in foreign policy of previous Canadian governments. Canada's policies in the hemisphere illustrate this well.
Canadian policy in the American continent over the last 20 years has really taken on a right-wing tone. It has been said that one of the most influential ministers within the Canadian government, Minister Freeland, was one of those who created the Lima Group, a group that is really a pseudo-imperialist tool of the United States government to establish governments that are more friendly to the United States policy.
Under Trudeau, Canada has been very active in efforts to oust the government of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, working in tandem with the Organization of American States, but also playing a leading role in the so-called Lima Group of Nations. Ottawa has hosted a number of meetings of this group and remains among the decreasing number of countries in the hemisphere participating in the bloc. The centre-left NDP isn't the only party criticizing Trudeau's government's handling of Canada's foreign relations. Drew Garvey, candidate from the country's second oldest party, the Communist Party of Canada, says the concerns go beyond Canada's diplomatic record.
2015, Trudeau was elected on real change, including in foreign policy, but instead we've seen continuity. We've seen Canada continue its acts of military aggression around the world, including selling arms to Saudi Arabia with light armored vehicles. We've seen sanctions against countries such as Nicaragua, Venezuela, Russia.
The Trudeau government has followed Washington in slapping sanctions on a number of countries, citing human rights concerns, while at the same time continuing with arms sales to other countries like Saudi Arabia and Colombia, who have been accused of mass violations. Canada's communists want to see a transfer from military budgets to social spending.
Been tens of billions of dollars promised for jet procurement, for battleship procurement, and the military budget's $20 billion a year, and we'd like to see that cut by 75% and all those funds put back into social spending.
Despite the lack of debate around foreign policy, the shift has not only been noticed by sections of the population, but also internationally. In June 2020, Canada lost another bid to join the UN Security Council, despite a massive push from the Trudeau government.
Canada has lost a dozen votes in the last few decades with countries mainly in what's called the Third World, Latin America, in Africa, in parts of Asia, because it is no longer seen as an objective supporter, someone who could stand for peace and democracy.